Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our beginner Strumstick lessons. This is part B. And for everyone who was here at the first one, I'm glad you came back. And for anyone who's this is the first one you're catching, we are going to do a quick review of what we covered the first time. On lesson A. So we're going to dive right into that, and we got a lot of work to do and tonight. So let's go at that little recap over first. And I have to say, everything we're going to talk about tonight, you're going to have a chance to kind of try it as we go along, but we're going to do a thing and then another thing and then a thing and then another thing. So you're not going to be able to really practice any of this stuff as we go. If we were on a one-to-one lesson, I would give you a few things and then you'd spend a little time working on them, and then we'd go to the next thing and you'd work on those for a little bit. So the main thing is that you have this video as a resource so that you can consult it after the lesson and have a basic idea of what you're going to be working on in sequence, and go back to the video to work on each of the different parts. So with no further ado, let's dive right in and say the first thing we covered was holding the strumstick. And everything we're going to do here applies to both the G strumstick and the D strumstick. I'm playing a D strumstick, the D33 grand. And the same techniques will all apply to the G. Some of the names of chords and things like that will be different, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the chords. But you can do all the same things if you have the G, but if you're playing along with me, obviously we won't sound on the same notes, but don't let that stop you anyway. Okay, so holding, you put the strap on, whether it's this, the color-up strap or whether it's the adjustable string strap. You slide the little buckle to get it to a comfortable height for yourself, and slide the knot on the string strap, and you want to hold it so basically the strumstick is horizontal. You want your right arm through the strap. Don't put the strap coming in front of your both arms. So your right arm goes through, and do not rest your arm on top of the strumstick. That's the biggest tip. If you rest on top, it tends to roll like that, and it also tends to scoot out from under you like that unless you're holding it physically with your left hand, and you don't want to be holding it with your left hand. You want your hand free to dance along the fingerboard. You don't want to be like hanging onto a post here. So rest your arm at the end. I'll shift over so you can see that. So my middle of my forearm, somewhere between the wrist and the elbow. Maybe for me it's a little closer to the elbow. That feels comfortable. And that keeps the strumstick from scooting off to my right, and the strap keeps it from scooting off to the left. That puts the wider part of the strumstick against my side here, so it's not likely to roll. If the skinny part of the strumstick is against your side, it wants to roll on you. So that's the best holding position there. Strumming, you have a pick. It could be a thick pick or a medium pick or a thin. I would say work with a thin or a medium. Don't worry about a thick pick at this point. It's for picking single notes really fast, like in the flat picking bluegrass. So you hold the pick between thumb and forefinger, and with a downward motion, strum all three strings, and you're moving your arm from the elbow, and you're also rotating your wrist, and it's kind of like you're shaking water off your hand. Get that off of me, like that, okay? And a nice brisk strum, and you don't have to grip the pick super tight, but if you hold it too loosely, it'll line up on the floor, so that's something you got to figure out exactly how tight to squeeze it. So I'm just doing a nice smooth motion, and I'm strumming between the end of the fingerboard and the sound hole. I'm not strumming right over the sound hole. That makes me squinch my wrist up too much. It makes it very tight and awkward here. So right in here gives you the kind of the sweetest sound. It's a little harsh and bright when you get back over to here. Sometimes you can use that for a sound effect. So that's the basic idea of strumming down, and the up strum works the same way, except you have to pull a little harder because the pick flexes away from the strings on the way down, but it kind of digs into the strings a little more on the way up because your finger's a little different hold than your thumb is. So you can spend 15 minutes just practicing strumming down and up to make that be a natural, comfortable motion. And if it's uncomfortable now, don't worry, keep doing it. It will become comfortable. Like everything on the strumstick, we try to make it as comfortable as possible at the beginning, and we try to make the sounds that come out at least not too annoying, and the things that you're doing to be at least moderately interesting, so you're motivated to keep going. Frustration is the biggest enemy of people succeeding on musical instruments, so we're trying to work in a frustration-free zone here. Okay, so that's strumming, fretting. Your first finger to start with. I'm going to place my finger, so this is fret number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. This would be called fret 0 or open, and you don't have to use any fingers to do that one. That's held there all the time. So fret number 2, 1, 2. I'm going to take my first finger, I'm going to put my thumb right opposite my finger like I'm a little lobster here, clickety clickety, and squeeze the string with my finger just to my left of the fret, not on top of the fret like that, and not halfway between the frets or just above the fret below. Okay, so I want to be right next to the fret and squeeze firmly with the tip of your finger, and there's a nice tone. Now, if I put my finger right on top of the fret, so half of my finger is leaking over onto the half of the string that's on this side, it makes a kind of a dull sound because now your soft part of your finger is dampening the part of the string that should be busy vibrating. Okay, and similarly, if you put your finger far away from the fret, you can get a dull sound or a rattly sound because it's hard to squeeze that string hard enough there to make it sit against the fret firmly. So just behind the fret gives you the clearest tone, just like so. Okay, now for clarity, I've tucked all my other fingers into my hand so they're not in the way of the camera, but you should hold your hand in a relaxed, neutral position. A neutral position for your hand is just give your hand a little shake and then kind of look at your palm. That's the way your fingers curve naturally. Take that and slip that over to the neck, and you're not putting any stress on your hand. There might be a little stress on your shoulder because you're holding your arm up a bit. Your forearm is lifted, and you're at about a right angle with your elbow, so there's a little force going on in here, but I'm not doing anything with my wrist that's tense and nothing with my fingers that's tense. Then I bring that right to the neck. I squeeze tightly with one finger. Now I've added some finger tension, but just enough to squeeze firmly. And you can see that from squeeze, so here's squeeze and here's not squeeze. Squeeze, not squeeze. My hand hardly moves at all. Just a little bit of squeeze there. And if you hear a buzzy or muffledy sound, squeeze a little harder. But don't squeeze harder than you have to. Why make it hard for yourself? Okay? Now you can use your first finger at any one of the frets. And I move my hand along. Notice that like if I go from 2 to 3 to 4 frets, I'm not pushing my finger sideways and leaving my thumb where it was. Your fingers are the workforce. Your hand is the pickup truck that takes the workforce to the job site. So your thumb is the indicator of where the truck is. So the truck is right over here behind the first fret. Okay, so your first finger is just behind the first fret. When I want to move my first finger to the second fret, I move the truck. Okay, so swing your arm to move your whole hand up. Swing your arm in a little. You might bend at the wrist a little, but mostly it's going to be I'm actually pulling my elbow back in and extending it out as I do each of those. And I'm holding the Strumstick not perfectly parallel to my body. I'm holding it kind of sticking out at about a 45-degree angle. That might not be so obvious on the video, so that's worth noting. So it's pointing out at about 45 degrees to the plane of my chest. So you can move up and down, and you might have your thumb right behind your finger. You might have it like pointed a little long, like a little miniature hitchhiking position. Whatever feels comfortable and stress-free there. And it'll depend on the size of your hand too. Now, you don't have to use just the first finger. You can use the second finger, the third finger, the fourth finger. So if I were going to hold from this position where my first finger's by the by the second fret, my second finger could easily do the third fret. And my third finger could probably do the fourth fret. Although it might be better to put my pinky because there's a big jump between this fret and this fret. But you're probably not using your pinky on your left hand very much if you're a right-handed person. By the way, you can reverse all these directions if you insist on playing it left-handed. If that's by far and away more comfortable to you, by all means go ahead. But the left hand does have the most challenging job. So even if you're a lefty, I recommend holding the pick in your right hand and adapting to that. You'll have less adapting to do to get your left hand to work. It's up to you. So there I've got, from one hand position, I've got 3 or 4 workers, my fingers, that can get to the job site. Now, if I had to go to the 5th fret, I would have to move my hand this way to get at least the pinky to that 5th fret. And I might decide to take all the way up to my 1st finger to the 5th fret, depending on whether I was going to need notes further up or if I was going to go up to the 5th fret but then come back down. So there's a lot of situational determination about where you position your hand based on where you're coming from and where you're going to. None of that do you have to strategize very hard about at this point. And if you're in the middle of a song and you're figuring it out, you can think, well, what finger makes the most sense given the note I just played, and what notes I'm going to have to do shortly after that. Now, you'll notice that I've got some space between my hand and the neck. I'm not like choked up like this, okay? Now, you can play choked up like that, and there are times when you want to. So once in a while, you might even use your thumb to fret the 3rd string. But for the most part, you want your hand in this what I call this neutral position, just relaxed like it was lying on your lap, not doing anything. That's kind of the position you want to hold the neck in. Again, if you have a bigger or a much smaller hand than I do, I have a fairly small hand, you might find that your thumb was a little higher or a little lower, depending on the nature of your hand. Now, there we're fingering on the 1st string. You can also finger on the 2nd string, and you can finger on the 3rd string. Now, when you finger on the 2nd or the 3rd string, you have to be careful not to lean your finger over. From this position, this neutral position, my finger's coming at the fret kind of from the side. If there was another string over here, my hand might be bumping it. But when you go to finger the 2nd string, see, now I'm bumping this 1st string with this part of my finger here. So I have to kind of push my wrist out a little bit and make more space around the neck to stand this finger up so it's not leaning into the 1st string. And similarly with the 3rd string. So if you started with your 1st finger at the 1st fret, with your thumb way down behind the 1st fret, you might use your 2nd finger or your 3rd finger for the 2nd fret, and you're probably going to use your pinky for the 3rd fret. Now again, your pinky is probably, on your secondary hand, is probably your least used digit. You will have some training to do to get used to moving it and to get used to squeezing with it. That will definitely come with time. And if you want to just move your hand and only use your 1st finger as you go up and down the neck, go right ahead and do that. Okay, so that brings us to what we call songlets, what I call songlets, actually. And what songlets are is a way of making a little miniature melody, a little 3-note, 4-note melody. So you're starting to think in terms of doing specific notes at specific times rather than just wandering around at random. Now, I should say, I think that the first thing you should do with a strum stick is strum down, squeeze at one of the frets, and then move to another fret and strum for a while, and then move to another fret and strum for a while, and then move to another fret and strum for a while, maybe jump all the way down to the 1st fret, maybe go back up to the 5th fret, here. Explore the neighborhood. Find out what it sounds like in different places and get used to squeezing with your fretting finger, strumming with your strumming hand, and moving your hand from fret to fret. And you'll quickly find that you need to kind of relax your finger just a little while you're moving, because if you keep squeezing, it makes a lot of friction that keeps you from moving your hand. So strum, you're squeezing, relax just a hair, slide right along the string to the next fret, relax, strum right along the string here, slide along, squeeze, or using multiple fingers if you're using more than one finger. So that's playing at random, and I recommend do that a lot. You'll discover all kinds of interesting little phrases. So what songlets are is we're going to make up, by choice, deliberate little phrases so we can start to think about organizing where our finger is. So I'm just going to take the number 2. I'm going to play fret number 2, and I'm strum a couple times, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to move to fret number 3. Couple times, and then I'm going to go back to fret number 2, and then I'm going to go to fret number 1, and then back to fret number 2. Now, did it have to be 2 and 3 and 1? Nope. It could have been 2 and 4 and 5, or it could have been 2 and 3 and 1. It could have been 2 and 5 and 4. 2 to 5, back to 2, to 4, back to 2. Keep going back to 2 and then going to some other note. That makes it easy to keep track of what you're doing. And so now I'm going to bring up just a little graphic here. So we had fret 2, a couple strums, fret 3, a couple strums, fret 2, a couple strums, fret 1, a couple strums, and fret 2 again. That sounds like it could be the beginning of a Tom Petty song, right? Close anyway. So the idea of songlets is you make up any little combinations you want. That's 2, 5, 4, 5, back to 2, 5, 4, 2. So you could make up a series of little songlets, and then you could string them together to make a phrase of a song. So this is a way of composing, and it's also a way of making little phrases to get you used to doing things deliberately on the neck and strumming while you do that. So that's what we call songlets. Now, the next thing we covered in lesson 1 was we looked at some simple songs with tablature. Tablature is a way of tablature is writing out the notes. Hold on a second here. I got to get to this. There we go. Get that out of the way. It writes down the fret numbers for the notes you need for a song on representations of the strings. So if you'll notice, we have string 1, string 2, string 3. String 1 is the one closest to the ground. That's the one I've been fingering. So this is kind of like you laid your Strumstick, well, for you it would be this way. So with string number 1 on top. It's like as you're looking at the Strumstick, there's number 1, there's number 2, there's number 3, and there's number 1, there's number 2, there's number 3. So 0, that means no fingers. 0, 0 for Twinkle Twinkle. 0, 0. That's a great start. Next note is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, since I know that I'm going to go to 4, I could like position my finger near there. 0, 0, 4, and then 4 again. And then 5, 5, and then 4 again, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 0. And then, and of course, I've got the words underneath the notes, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. And then up above the world so high, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. Then like a diamond in the sky, and then twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. And you would provide the rhythm. So the tablature does not give you any information about rhythm, the time space between the notes. It just tells you what frets are needed to go with what syllable of the words. If you're unfamiliar with the rhythm of a song, tablature will not teach you the rhythm. So in this case, I think you probably know how Twinkle Twinkle goes rhythmically. We did, for our next song, we did When the Saints Come Marching In, and then 0, 2, 3, 4, 0, 2, 3, 4, 0, 2, 3, 4, 2, 0, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 0, 2, 4, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 0, 1, 0. Okay, So there's oh when the saints da 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 go marching in da da da. Oh when the saints go marching in da da dun dun dun. I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Now you'll notice there's space in many places in this song. Oh, when the saints, that's all beat, 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 beat. Oh, when the saints, da 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 da. Where, you know, the horns would be playing a little riff in there. Oh, when the saints, da 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 da. So in those spaces, you could just do nothing, because we're just doing single down strums here. Or you could play a steady beat that goes all the way through there. Oh, when the saints da 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 go marching in da 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 da. Oh, when the saints that go da. Say saints that go marching in. I can't talk and they'll do that at the same time. So you could just do a steady beat, and you'll have extra strums on some of the notes where the spaces would normally be. And that's pretty close to where we finished off lesson B, but we did get one additional thing added here, and this is called adding upstrums. So let's say I'm going to take the Saints tab away for now, and adding upstrums, and let's bring this on. Okay. Oh, we have a tape failure over there, disguising the ugly switch plates. Okay, so if you're doing a steady beat, and I'm going through this quickly now, remember, we're still doing our review from last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's a steady beat, and you can count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's always a great idea to count a rhythm out loud before you try strumming that rhythm, because strumming is new to you. Talking is not new to you. So what you do with your voice to make sounds happen, beat, 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 is a little less brain power requiring than to make your hand go strum, 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 strum. You're distracted, and you're busy learning muscle groups you maybe haven't learned before. So if you count the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you go, you might have a chance to notice if you went 1, 2, 3, 4. I missed the string on the first beat. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of those strums took a long time, and it wasn't like in step with all the other. You might not notice that while you're in the throes of doing it, but if you give yourself a count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're trying to make each strum be a pulse of sound. We're not trying to go blah, we're not going. You might do that for effect sometimes. But basically for strumming, you want a single rhythmic pulse with each strum. So having done 1, 2, 3, 4, all down strums, you could do something in between, which is when you're coming back up, you could hit the up strum. And we talked about at the beginning that when you strum up, you have to pull a little harder. So that'll take some practice. So the first thing to practice is go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up at a fairly slow tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So there we have up strums happening on the and in between the counts. So if the beats are 1, 2, 3, 4, we call the and the off beat. It's in the space exactly halfway between the 1 beat and the 2 beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when you first start to do this, your up strums may lag behind a little, like 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And that's not really doing a steady beat. But you might need to do that to get your hand used to moving up and down. But you want to keep listening and count from time to time to make it sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. By the way, if there's a little unsync between my voice and what you see on the screen, chalk that up to the limitations of streaming over the internet. if I'm not sounding 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and exactly at sync, go by the rhythm of my voice there. So if we were going to do all the up strums, it would count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's probably the way you should practice it first. But for bringing the up strums into a song, it's easier if you just put one up strum in once in a while. So start doing a steady beat, and I'm going to do it fast, but you can do it slower. And then once in a while, just do an up strum once in a while and see if it's, not breaking your steady beat. So you could count 1 and 2, 3, 4. 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 So if you want to organize your rhythm and test it, count one of these rhythms I've written here. 1 and 2, 3, 4. And do that for a while. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And lastly, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice that the and seems to precede the next number. So if I'm doing this one here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that 3 and 4 becomes like a little package. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it sometimes might be helpful to think in your brain that you're going to go down, down for a while, and then you're going to go down, up, down. And think of the up strum as part of a package, down, up, down, that brings you right back to the beat. So if you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, that's one way of thinking of it. But if you think 1, 2, 3, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 that's a slightly off to the side way of looking at it, and one way or the other may suit your way of thinking better. Okay, so we've added an up strum into any of the spaces between any of the beats. Now, for simplicity's sake, we only did 1 per 4 beats. 1, 2, and 3, 4. But there's no reason I couldn't go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I can't do that and point at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's doing all of them. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or conversely, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4 and. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Down, 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 up, down, up. So if you think of these as packages of downs and down, up, downs, down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You can create any rhythm that you want in a 4-beat pattern there. If we were working with a 3-beat pattern, it would work the same way. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3. And we won't worry about 3 beats at the moment. We'll just take it with 4. So we are now up to speed with what we covered on the first lesson. And if we go back to Oh When the Saints here, let's leave that rhythm thing up. So when we get to Oh when the saints da 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 go marching in da 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 da, you could strum da 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 da. Oh when the saints da 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 da. Okay, now we're not playing a bunch of fancy notes. We're just holding the note we were on. Da da da. But we played the rhythm places that those fancy notes will happen. And from the perspective of just playing a steady beat, it starts to sound pretty fancy. So you can put ands in after any down strum, and especially where you've got several strums in a row on the same note, that's a great place to put in an up strum or 2 or 3. Oh, when the saints da 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 da. That would be a very busy thing. Oh, when the saints da 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 da. But you could go, oh, when the saints da 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 da. the saints da 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 da. Oh, when the saints down, 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 up, down. Or you could go, oh, when the saints down, up, down, down, down. Oh, when the saints down, up, down, down, down. Oh, when the saints down, up, down, down, up, down. So you can see there's a whole bunch of different little rhythmic patterns that you can create in spaces in songs. And you can then go farther and say, well, when I play, oh, when the saints, I could do a few upstrums on the way up there. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. There I went all down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Now, this is a tremendous amount of information to process in your brain and then imagine yourself doing on the Strumstick. And I have to caution again, don't just dive into doing all this. Work your way through in the sequence that we did it. Get a steady beat, comfortable, and then add an upstrum once in a while or add all the upstrums. Now, how do you know when you're ready to move on to a slightly more challenging new technique? Boredom should be your guide. Because if you're having challenge just keeping your beat steady and holding a note at the same time, you're probably not going to feel bored. But if you do that for about a minute or 2 or 3 or 20, whatever your level of skill and patience level is, when you start to feel a little bored, you're not challenged anymore. Boredom is your signal that you are no longer quite as challenged as you were, and now you're ready to try at least one new thing. So I always say let boredom be your guide, and when you start to get a little bored with a technique, try the next level up from that technique. Now, if you start to get frustrated, if your rhythm falls apart, if you lose track of where you are, if you get confused, slow down the tempo will ease some of those things. And if slowing down the tempo doesn't work, drop back a step and just work on something a little simpler at a slow tempo until you start to get a little bored with it. So because we're not doing lessons where, you come once a week for a 20-minute lesson and I show you some stuff and I listen to you play it and I make some corrections and then you play it some more and then I send you home and you work on it for the week and then you come back the next week and we go to the next thing, because we're not doing that way. You have to self-instruct. And the way you self-instruct is by taking things at a slow tempo, using a count to give you a rhythm guide, by strumming carefully and briskly, and work at a slow tempo until you're a little bored, and then move to the next level of complexity. So I hope that helps. And like I said, you could get frustrated if you tried to do all this in 10 minutes. And the thing we don't want to do is get frustrated. And we've set the Strumstick up so that the sounds it makes wherever you squeeze are pretty nice. So inherently, it's not going to do a lot of things to frustrate you. It's not going to give you a lot of clinker notes. Now, if you're going to play a rhythm with "Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In," you can't read the tablature and play a rhythm at the same time. And I should have mentioned that when we talked about tablature. This is a guide to teach you where the notes are that you need for that song, and you have to memorize them. If you try to read tablature like you're reading words, like where it says add an upstrum, you just add an upstrum. You just read it because you've practiced reading and you understand how the letters come together to make words, and you recognize the word add and the word and the word upstrum, and that's a funny word you've never seen before, but you can figure it out pretty quick. Okay, whereas the tablature, if you try to go, oh, well, 0, 2, 3, 4, whoops, see, I'm lost already. So we're not trying to replace written music by tablature. Tablature is an instructional guide to teach you what notes to play. Written music is a system that's designed to actually be read on the fly. Once you have become very skilled at reading music, you can read it on the fly and translate the things on the page to the things that you've learned to do on your instruments that generate those things. We're not working with written music, and we're not working with tablature other than as a way of writing down what notes you want to play the song, and it's up to you to kind of memorize that sequence. Okay, so you can't do rhythm with a song until you have learned the notes of the song and are comfortable doing it at a slow tempo with a steady beat. Okay, so this brings us now to our next topic. Let's take this off and this off, and we'll go to here. So rhythms. What does rhythm mean? Rhythm simply means how things are spaced in time. So if you have one thing, you don't really think about rhythm. But if you have two things, the space between them is an element of rhythm. And the space until you do them again might be an element of rhythm. If I just do two things and I wait a long time and then I go here, that's technically a rhythm, but it's a very, very long, drawn out rhythm. So unless I had a beat that was going in my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, we wouldn't really think of that as a rhythm. But if you've got a bunch of things that are reasonably close together in time, the spaces between them, the spaces of nothing, the spaces of time, in between each of the things that you do, that's what creates rhythm. So rhythm is about moments in time separated by passage of time. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, the moments are 1 and 2, and then 3, and then the moment 4. Those sounds. And the spaces are those passages of time, 1, 2, 3, 4, if we represent time with my hand moving. And the reason I say that, it may be intuitive, but it may not be, because you're dealing with chunks of time. And the easiest way to deal with chunks of time is to make those chunks be even chunks, because we're really good at hearing if chunks are not spaced evenly. If I go bip, 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 you could hear immediately that there was a sort of a break in that steady rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If there's a hesitation, if there's a rush, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're really good at picking that up. Now, you might count 1, 2, 3, 4 at one speed this moment, and then a minute later you might count it a little faster or a little slower. We're not necessarily good at remembering the exact spacing for a given number of beats per second or beats per minute, but we're very good at hearing when something that is in a steady rhythm becomes not steady anymore. So that's a skill that people are born with. It comes partly from having a ticking heart of your own, but also, as an embryo, being right next to a ticking heart of your mother. So we are well prepared for noticing when our rhythms are smooth and when they're not smooth, unless we're really distracted by the techniques that we're trying to do. So if I'm having trouble strumming up and down and holding the pick and squeezing a note at the same time, I don't have a lot of processing power to pay attention to my beat. So you practice those things. You get comfortable, you get bored with those things, and then you start putting them into rhythms. Okay, so each of those little 1, 2, and 3, 4 patterns we did, each of those you could call a rhythm. So I think if you start doing a steady beat, and you maybe stomp your foot to help reinforce, if that helps you. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just add an up strum once in a while. Then maybe a few more. Maybe a whole bunch. Now, you notice if you were listening to that, and if you play it back, my rhythm was nice and steady. The beat was consistent. The off beats were exactly halfway in between each of the beats. That's a nice, crisp, clean, steady rhythm. If I were going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. There's no steady beat to that. Now, no one says you have to do a song with a steady beat. People do free interpretations of songs where there's not a really perceivable beat, but 90% of songs, 95% of songs are done with a steady beat involved. That's one of the things that attracts us to music. So I would spend time doing what I call rhythm training, which is just, sit in front of TV or sit on the porch and look at the moon or wherever you're happy sitting and just get a nice steady beat going. And when you think you should do an up strum, do the steady beat a little longer. Wait until you're distinctly feeling like, I need something new here. Oh, there we go. Ah, that felt better. Oh, Oh, there's another one. Oh, whoa, I can't even stop myself. There's a couple of them. And it doesn't matter when you do them. And in this case, you don't have to count a pattern, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and memorize it and then duplicate it. You're just doing a steady beat. You're making it as steady as you can, and you're making the up strums happen right in the middle, and you're just going to make rhythm crazy. And you do that a number of times, and you're going to actually start to hear the rhythms that you're making, the little sub-rhythms. Bum, bum, ba-da, bum. Bum, bum, ba-da, bum. Bum, bum, ba-da, 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 ba-da. And each of those starts to become kind of like a familiar friend. So when you're playing a song, like "Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In," now I'll bet you a nickel that listening to me play that after the discussion we just had, you could kind of hear I did some up strums and I did some beats and I did some up strums, but you can actually start to follow a rhythm a little more closely with your attention now that you know what's going on with it. So each of those little separate sections that I did, there was a different pattern of beats and offbeats. So anytime you're playing a song, start with a steady beat and then add some up strums as feels appropriate to you. If the song feels as a certain bounce to it, if the song feels like dum da da dum da da dum da da dum da da dum, that's the way the song feels, stick with that kind of a rhythm. Dum da da dum da da dum da da dum da da dum for most of the song, and then vary a little for interest and to keep it lively and stuff. If the song feels dum dum da dum dum. There's nothing wrong with doing the same rhythm pattern repeatedly to kind of establish a sort of a theme rhythm for a song and then do some variation. So rhythms and songs, you need a bunch of work on rhythm before you can start to just, make up rhythms as you go in the song. But it's a lot of fun to generate your own rhythms once you get comfortable with your downstrums and your upstrums. And one more thing, you can leave out a downstrum. You can just do a fake downstrum, don't hit the strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, fake. 2, 3, 4, fake. 2, 3, 4. Now, I think as a beginner, it's easier to do a fake strum than to just sit there someplace and wait for a beat and then start up again. If you do the fake, you have down, 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 fake. Down, 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 fake. So your metronome hand is still doing 2, 3, 4, 1, fake, 3, 4, 1, fake, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, fake, 1, 2, 3, fake. That's actually easier to learn than to go 1, 2, 3, nothing, 1, 2, 3, nothing, 1, 2, 3, nothing. Because if you do nothing when you're down, then you have to dash back up to be in time. Or if you do nothing when you're up, 1, 2, 3, nothing, you have to sit here ready to go again, but you don't go. So I think doing the fake is the easiest way to learn to leave beats out. So those three things, steady beat, add up strums, leave beats out, makes you a rhythm generation machine once you get used to doing that. Now, the next thing we want to cover, and this is now fully into the new material for Lesson B, is what we call mini chords. And what this is going to do is mini chords are little fingerings, and I'll bring the name of it, and I'll bring some shapes up. Okay, so here's a picture of the fretboard of the Strumstick, which looks like this. And then here is, this is string number 1, this is string number 2, this is string number 3. I'm sorry, no, I'm backwards. String number 1, string number 2, string number 3, okay? Now, the way it looks when you look at it here, we have string number 1, I can't get in front of that. And you got the idea. The string, I'll do it at the bottom. Okay, so this is like cutting your hair in the mirror. That's string number 1. In the middle is string number 2. And then over here, on the left side of the screen is string number 3. So once again, 1, 2, 3 is the strings. You notice I have a number, fret number 2, written right there. Okay, just as a help you keep track of what fret that is. I put one finger on the first string at fret number 2, and then I put another finger on the second string at fret 3. This is a 1 fret space between those fingers, and we're going to call this a 1 fret mini chord. Okay, and what we're doing here is we're making a nice little harmony, and the reason this becomes a mini chord is because it's not quite as complicated as a chord that uses all 3 strings with fingers, but it moves up and down. And as long as you keep that simple 1 fret spacing, it makes beautiful harmonies wherever you do it. So if we take our little diagram away for the mini chords, and we go back to good old Twinkle Twinkle, now where I'm going 0, 0, 4, 4, 5, 5, 4. When I get to 4, I could do the mini chord form, where my first finger does the note that's called for in the tablature on the first string, and then my second finger is 1 fret higher. So I have twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So we have a beautiful harmony to our melody. Single notes, mini chords. So what the mini chords are doing is they're teaching you to get used to using 2 fingers at once and to keeping this finger from falling over and bumping that string and all that stuff. So there's technical stuff for your hand while you're learning those, but you're also getting beautiful harmonies from songs that you already have figured out. And you can also do the mini chords and just wander around and write your own songs with them. Now the other fingering that we had for the mini chords, we have Twinkle, let's go back to this shapes, is at the first fret, I'm going to put my first finger on the second string. Now, to do this fingering, if you can see what my elbow is, my upper arm is pretty much straight up and down, right? And I call that neutral position for the elbow. It's not swung out, and it's not scrunched in front of me, okay? That's with your bicep roughly perpendicular to the floor. So with this chord, I have to swing my elbow in a little bit to help carry the fingers where they have to go. So that helps me get this first finger off of the first string. You can see how that's lifting up and away from the first string. Let me give you a sight line here. Swing my elbow in, and my first finger rocks a little bit up and away from the first string. It's not quite in focus here, but you get the idea. Okay, and then I'm going to use my pinky, my dreaded pinky and my left hand, but we're working it in shape, so it'll be there when you need it. And once I bring the pinky in, now this finger doesn't have to stand all the way up. It can flatten out a little because even though it's touching the first string's being fretted 2 frets higher here. So you start with this finger like that, and then you do what you have to do to get your pinky there. And if this finger winds up touching the first string, no problemo. So there's a nice harmony. Now if I move that up 1 fret, that means each finger moves up 1 fret. Now the distance they move might be a little different, because now if I move 1 more, I got a big jump here and a small jump there. But I'm just going to move 1 fret. And sometimes you're not going to be able to get every finger right next to the fret. That's okay. Now, if you have a very big hand, you might be able to do this with first finger and third finger. I'm more comfortable doing it with the pinky. So that's the second mini chord, and we could have gone So let's see. Since twinkle, so twinkle, twinkle. So if I'm using this 2-fret space mini chord, I'm going to let my pinky do the melody note from the song, and then this finger has to be one fret, 2 frets lower. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. So you could use either of those mini chords in different places in the song, and about 95% of the time it'll work out with a nice harmony. If it doesn't, just don't do it there. So that's a great way of training your fingers to make a fixed shape and to move that shape around without having to memorize every different shape that there is. You only have to memorize one shape, this 1-finger spacing, and then get used to moving it and squeezing after you move it. So that's mini chords, and that is also mini chords in songs we've covered here. So I could put that up and take that away. Let's see what happens with "Oh When the Saints" with mini chords here. Let's take the shapes away and saints. So, oh when the saints go marching in, oh when the saints go marching in, I want to be in that number. Oh when the saints go marching in. And you could mix up. You could do some mini chords and some just straight melody. Oh when the saints go marching in, oh when the saints go marching in, I want to be in that number. Oh when the saints go marching in. I couldn't help myself. I played a note on the bottom string. Pretend I didn't do that. Because that leads us, that starts to move us towards real chords. So the next step after mini chords and mini chords in songs would be what I call fingered chords. And let's look at a graphic here. Okay. Now, the simplest full-fledged chord on the Strumstick only needs one finger, and that's this the D chord on the D Strumstick, and it's a G chord if you do it on a G Strumstick. So D, one finger at the 2nd fret on the 1st string, and that's a D chord. It's all 3 notes that make up a real D chord. Now, we'll talk in some future lesson about music theory and why you need the 3 or 4 notes to make various chords, most of them 3, and why you don't always have all 3 of those notes on the Strumstick. We'll just leave that for now. This is a group of notes that sounds good together. That's our working definition of a chord. So that's the D chord. Now you could use a different finger, and it's still a D chord. So we put a black dot without a number there. Now the next chord, which in key of D on the D Strumstick is a G chord, or it would be a C chord if you were on a G Strumstick. So the red chords here are for the D Strumstick, and the gray chords are for the G Strumstick. So this one looks like just like that mini chord that we just did, here and here. And I'm specifying 4, meaning that 4 in a circle means use your pinky to do that note, as a reminder that it's probably going to be easier. It's not a hard and fast rule. If you can do that with your 3rd finger, go right ahead. So this is, in key of D on the D Strumstick, a G chord, as well as being the formation that we use for that mini chord, 2-fret mini chord pattern that we just looked at. So that's a G chord. Now, it's an interesting little feature of the Strumstick that because it's tuned D, A, D, or in the case of the G Strumstick, G, D, G, this G, or in this case, this D and this D are the same note, but they're an octave apart. Now that means that this one is lower, but it's lower in such a way that it's completely replaceable with the one that's an octave higher. So it's kind of a contradiction in terms to say two notes are different notes, but they're the same. But that's about the best you got to explain what an octave is. It's one note is higher than another by an amount that's so much that it actually operates the same as the one that's below it. Now, there's physics for that, but we're not going to do that. Suffice to say that that interval of an octave is really important and useful because it means that I could do a D chord by just flopping this finger over to that string. Anything you do on the first string, you could do on the third string, and it'll produce harmonically the same result. So D chord, D chord. And you notice they have a different flavor because this note that I'm fingering here is down at the bottom of the chord. And here, it's up at the top of the chord. The harmony of the chord is the same. So you're getting two chords for the price of one there. D chord, D chord. Now with our G chord, I could really rock my elbow in farther. Now here you might have to kind of push the Strumstick away from you to make room for your elbow to come in front of you and get that pinky way over here on the third string. You don't have to do this today. This is a hard chord. They're both G chords on the D Strumstick. Those would be C chords on the G Strumstick. Now the A chord, the third one in the row here, A chord on the D Strumstick, which would be a D chord on the G Strumstick, is two fingers on the outside strings. And this is an A chord. Now this is, if you've got a music theoretician among us, they might point out that this is not all three notes that are needed to make a bona fide, full-fledged A chord, because this note is an octave below this note. These are both E's, and there's an A in the middle. That's what we have as serving for an A chord, and if your guitar player friend or your piano friend is playing an A chord and you play these with them, there will be no problem. Your chord will be a little thinner than their chord is. There is a fingering for A, which we're not going to look at now. It does have all three notes in it, and they're interchangeable. So this is the A chord, and then the next chord here, B minor on the D Strumstick, E minor on the G Strumstick, is first finger, I recommend, on the middle string at the second fret, and then either second finger or third finger on the third string. And this is a minor chord. Minor chords have a little different feel than major chords. The first three chords we did, the D, the G, and the A, their proper name is D major, G major, A major, but you leave the word major out because that's the most common kind of chord. The next most common kind of chord is minor, but you can't leave that word out because otherwise you wouldn't know if you're talking about major or minor. So this is a B minor chord, and it has a kind of a little slightly ominous, kind of exciting kind of sound, like something's going to happen. D chord, B minor chord, D chord, minor chord. So there's a great little emotional thing that happens when you move from a major chord to a minor chord. Now you could also do that B minor on the first string. So the one that I'm showing you in the fingerings here would be let's say the primary one. So if you're going to play B minor, you're probably going to play it that way rather than this way. But you could do it that way for variety's sake, or if you're trying to get a melody note over on that first string out of the chord. Okay, so there's a couple of chords. Oh, and one more, E minor. And E minor brings in a thing called the bar, B-A-R-R-E. And that's when you lay a finger across all three strings at the same fret. And guitar players live in terror of bar chords until they learn how to do them. It's not as terrifying on the Strumstick, but there is a tip that's really useful. And when I have to put my one finger on all three strings, if you'll notice my finger, if I rest it on top of my second finger, you notice that there's two little bumps right here and right here, where like two little hollows where the hinges of my knuckles are there. So there's two little tunnels that if a string was in that tunnel, it wouldn't be squeezed down against the fret, right? I think you can see those little tunnels there. okay? Like right there, okay, where the crease is. Okay, so if you just curl your finger over the string and squeeze, you might get something like that. So you have to kind of straighten out your finger by pushing your wrist away from you, like that. If you were just going to go like that, that's the motion, but you're leaving your fingers in place here, so that's the motion. And now you're a little more on the side of your finger where the crease isn't so much, and you can kind of even deliberately swing your elbow in to roll that a little onto the side of your finger even more, and move your hand away so you can somehow get your pinky to here. Hard chord, we don't start with this, we start with mini chords, we work our way up. But this is an E minor chord, and one of the special virtues of bar chords that use a bar, so all three strings are fretted, is they make some kind of chord, whatever fret you do it at. Whatever fret you do it at. And if you are looking in your instruction book, or if you go to strumstick.com, which is right down here, strumstick.com, and you look in our instruction section, we have all kinds of chord charts to show you lots and lots of different chords that you can play with the Strumstick. The Strumstick is inherently more limited in the number of chords it can do than a guitar is, because it only plays basically in one key, so a guitar can play in any key. So there are 12 times as many chords you can do on guitar, theoretically, than there is on the Strumstick, or 11 times. But there's plenty to keep us busy with lots and lots of songs. So what we've got now, these are called fingered chords. So what we're going to do at this point, how are we doing here? We're right about at 9. We're going to go just a hair over and get to this last thing that I wanted to cover with you, which is, let me bring up the small chords, and I'm going to bring up This Land Is Your Land written out with chords. And I will also put it on screen with tablature so you can learn the melody. But here we've got the black letters above the words are D Strumstick chords, and the blue letters are G Strumstick chords. G Strumstick chords. So we're playing a D Strumstick. I will just say the names of the D Strumstick chords, and I'll do the fingerings for those. But you'll notice that the D chord fingering for a D Strumstick is the same fingering as the G chord fingering, okay? So the D and the G chords are the same fingering, depends on which strumstick they are on. If you're using the, back and forth between two strumsticks. But we're just going to stay with the D Strumstick fingerings. So this song, this land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island. And I will bring the tab up for that so that it's on the video also. So we have, this land is G chord, your land. This land is D chord, from Cala A chord to the New York D chord, from the Redwood G chord to the Gulf Stream D, A, D minor, waters. This land was made for you and me. Now I'm going bum da da ba da ba da bum. I could just do downbeats. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. And then if I speed the tempo up, this land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Okay, so there's the basic way that you use chords with a song. If you have the words and you have the chords, you can then strum and harmonize your way through the song without playing the melody, but you have to be able to finger the chords. Now, we could have played the song, instead of using the chords, we could have used the tablature to memorize the melody, and then we could play it not looking at the tablature from memory. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California way down here, this land is made. There's a note on the second string at the second fret. You know it's the second string because it's the middle line, and you know it's the second fret because it's the number 2. These are fret numbers. So use whatever finger makes the most sense, is comfortable for where you are there. So, okay, so you just finger that note, and then later you finger, right after it, you have 2 on the second string, then you have 0 on the second string. Now, the astute among you will notice that when you strum all 3 strings, you're already doing 0. And every year we get 3 or 4 people writing in and saying, now, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do when it's 0 there? How do I do a 0? Well, you're getting a free 0 every time you strum the strings. So that 0 on the second string is a freebie, just like 0 on the first string is a freebie, and if we had a 0 on the third string, it would be a freebie. So don't let that throw you. You actually don't have to do anything to do that 0. You just have nothing on the string and you strum. So this land was made for, then first fret, you, and then second fret, and then open on the first string. So that's the fingering the melody to the song. And what I want to really wrap up with here is that if you've learned the melody, excuse me, and you've learned the chords and you've played the song with chords, you can mix the melody and the chords together. So this takes a little bit of, just hold this in your memory for a minute, because this land is your land is the G. This land is my land is the D. From California is the A. So I don't have those written down, but when I get to your, I'm going to play a G. And when I get to my, for my land, right there, I'm going to play the D chord. And when I get to California, I'm going to play the A. And that's where those chord names were when we were looking at the chords over the words. So I could go, this land is your land, this land is my land. I'm doing the D chord just by fingering the melody note there. My land from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, and lo and behold, waters. The melody notes are held by those chords. Waters, this land was made for you and me. Now, if you want, you could finger the D chord at the end, even though the melody note is there. You could be singing that note, made for you and me, but finger the D chord and now you have a harmony. Me. So what I'm going to do to wrap this lesson up, we're going to take a quick look. Somebody has a question. Are there any stretching exercises? Okay, arthritic fingers. I'm not a medical expert on arthritis, but I am old enough that I have some arthritis, and I can say that my best practice that I've discovered is gentle use, moving up to the areas where it's tight and then holding, and then maybe extending a little bit into where it's painful. The thing I keep hearing from articles about arthritis is that it's kind of use it or lose it. Now, if you work so hard that you are in greater pain after you've worked than you were while you're doing it, you're probably working too much. But I think the best stretching exercises are slowly positioning your fingers on the strum stick. And if you can't get your pinky all the way to the third fret, put it not quite all the way. And if the note's muffled, too bad, so sad. It'll get better with time because you will get stronger. And by using your fingers in these positions, you will gradually probably get a little bit better at doing it in terms of arthritis. And at the least, you will probably hold some of the ability that you already have. And that's what I'm told by people who know about those things. But I'm not qualified to authorize you to do any specific thing. If it hurts, your body's telling you don't do it. So if you're going to do it anyway and kind of stretch and work your way in, stay within your comfort level of a little bit of pain, just like you would if you were lifting weights. A little bit of pain, it can be a signal that you're in the growth zone, but if you do a lot of pain, you're going to damage yourself. So use your common sense, and when in doubt, just use one finger and play the melody and sing the song anyway. Okay, so thank you all for coming. I'm going to just take a quick peek here. We had about, that's great, we had about 16 people here at the end of this lesson. So thank you again all for coming. And if you want to write to me at info@strumstick.com and let me know that you participated, I would love to know that. You certainly don't have to. If I do another set of beginner lessons, maybe a beginner intermediate series, I will announce it by sending it out to our mailing list. So if you're not on our mailing list, go to strumstick.com and sign up for the newsletter, and that will put you on our mailing list. And any future lessons that I do for beginners will be announced that way. And you can also come to our Thursday night lessons. The next one will be this coming Thursday, which are a bit more advanced, but you're technically, if you just started at the beginning of these lessons, you're not ready to do everything in those lessons necessarily, but you're certainly versed enough to watch what's happening and to get an idea what's going on, and then go back to that video when you get a little more techniques under your belt to go and do them. So you're all very welcome to come to the ongoing lessons. And thank you very much for your attention. And I hope this has all been useful. And what I'm going to do to play us out is I'm just going to play a couple times through This Land Is Your Land. And I'm going to use chords, and I'm going to use melody. And sometimes I'm going to flip the chords over to the third string and things like that. So there'll be more in the video of this little bit here than we actually talked about specifically. But feel free to watch that and figure out what the heck I was doing, or write me and ask me about it. So everyone be well, be safe, and hopefully I'll see you at the Thursday night lessons. Little slide, another slide. Punctuated by releasing the fingers. Instead of going this land, I went this land. I squeezed and released, which gives a little punctuation instead of. So the strings aren't ringing in between. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. Sometimes I use this fingering for the A instead of this because I'm lazy. And it's easy to hold this thumb down while I pick this up. New York Island, waters, mini chord. Waters, this land was made for you and me. Now when you're strumming, I'm right here between the neck and the fingerboard. I can pull back a little closer to the sound hole. I'm sorry, between the fingerboard and the sound hole. I'm up kind of close to the end of the fingerboard. I could pull back to here. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California, a little brighter. Island, now watch. From the redwood forest to the coasting waters. If I strum up here over the fretboard, it's a kind of a mellower, a little richer tone, and you could move back and forth while you're playing the song. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, to the redwood forest, to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. That changes the tone of your strumming. It adds a little dimension to what you're playing. And I'll go one more time through with some hammering on. And we did some slides before, and maybe a pull-off. I'll do some fancy stuff. This is all in the instruction book. It's all in the instructions on the web. And have a great time playing away, and let me know if you have any problems. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest there we go. Have fun strumming, and I'll see you at the next lesson you come to. Bye.